Ozoni is a rice cake soup eaten in Japan on New Year's morning. Eating rice cake is a really important New Year's custom because it's traditionally considered as a food for gods, and we wish for our longevity by eating the same food as gods. There's a bunch of Ozoni recipes on YouTube, but this video is the only guide to one of the unique and super delicious Ozoni from Japan's food heaven, Hokkaido. Hello everyone, welcome to Regional Food Japan. My name is Taka. I'm really excited to have an opportunity today to show you guys how to prepare a scrumptious Hokkaido-style Ozoni. FYI, Ozoni styles are different from region to region. In Tokyo, for example, it's typically made with rectangular rice cakes, soy-based broth, lots of veggies, and chicken. Whereas in Osaka, they use round-shaped rice cakes, white miso-based broth, and Kyoto vegetables. In Hokkaido, there's actually no standard Ozoni, and it's very common that your neighbors prepare the soup in completely different ways. That's because many of our ancestors are immigrants from all over Japan, which means the style of Ozoni really depends upon where they came from. In fact, my dad's ancestor came from Ishikawa prefecture, so my family's Ozoni developed based on Ishikawa style, and it's a fantastic marriage between that and Hokkaido's food culture. And that makes today's recipe so special and the only one in the world. I definitely recommend the recipe to those who love mochi, want to try out new and unique food, and who love seafood because it's full of seafood umami. Well, it does require quite a bit of steps, but the result is promising. So stay tuned and follow me. Let's get started. The very first thing you do is to prepare the dashi the night before you cook the soup. For that we need kombu, Japanese dried squid, and dried shiitake mushrooms. Each of these ingredients contains different umami components, and by combining them, it will create what we call umami synergy. Before using the dried shiitake, lightly rinse them in cold water because they tend to have bits of dirt on the surface. It's often recommended that you not rinse mushrooms because the flavors will be washed away, but dried ones are an exception. That being said, make sure to use cold water, not hot water, because otherwise they will lose umami. After rinsing, add a cup of cold water and soak them overnight to bring out umami. Now the kombu. I've seen people using tons of kombu to make just a liter of dashi, but you actually need just a little bit. With the squid, what we do is to remove the legs and cut off the center bone. This is a key ingredient for this recipe, and you can typically find them at Japanese or Korean supermarkets. Next, we're gonna cut the kombu and the squid into really thin strips. Apply some water on the kombu to make it flexible enough to cut, but you don't need to do that for the squid. There are two reasons why we cut them so thinly. Firstly, it helps them release umami more easily. Secondly, we eat them as well, so if the pieces are too thick, it's not the best texture-wise. As I mentioned in the beginning part of this video, the base of my family's Ozoni is Ishikawa style, and the technique of combining dried squid and kombu for dashi actually comes from that region. Now, just like dried shiitake, we're gonna soak the kombu and squid pieces in cold water overnight. You can do this process on the day you make the soup, but in that case, soak them for at least an hour. But again, you get the best result by leaving them overnight. From here, it's day 2 and we're gonna prepare the veggies that go into the soup. Here's what we need. Some daikon radish, carrot, and gobo. Peel the skin off the daikon and carrot. This is Japanese whale peeling, but if you're not confident, you can just use a peeler. But in that case, peel the daikon twice because the skin is quite thick. Okay, it's a cutting show of daikon from now. To make it look beautiful, I'm gonna cut it into tanzakugiri. Here we go. Make sure your knives are nice and sharp. Remember, this is a professional operation. Get yourselves ready for the quick action. Now man your stations. Nah, you can just cut the veggies slowly. Take it easy. Right, we cut the carrot also into tanzakugiri. But this time I'll show you the real fast slicing. Make sure your knives are nice and sharp. Remember, this is a professional operation. Get yourselves ready for the quick action. Now man your stations. Now the slicer will do the job for you. The combination of red and white is a symbol of luck and happiness in Japan, so it's perfect for Ozoni. Now scrape off the skin of the gobo using the spine of a knife and make 2 cuts lengthwise. Then shave it off into a bowl of cold water using the tip of the knife. This is called sasagaki and it's a technique to make the fibers and tough roots easier to chew. Now leave it for 10 minutes to remove the bitterness. After that, strain. Making sasagaki actually requires a bit of practice, so if you find it too challenging, use a peeler instead. Now, this is called Konnyaku and is a cake made from the comb of konjac plant. It's a really popular ingredient in Japanese cooking and used in stews, soups and stir fries. Its rubbery texture kind of makes it love it or hate it, but definitely worth a try if you're health conscious because it's almost 0 calorie. Now we're gonna cut this into tanzakugiri just like the daikon and carrot. Here's a little technique. Konnyaku has a tiny bit of fishy smell although it's not a seafood product. In order to do away with it, put a little bit of salt and rub with your fingers. Then boil for a couple of minutes. After boiling, strain and leave it aside. Lastly, squeeze out the juice of the shiitake mushrooms and cut it into julienne. Let's move on to making the soup now. Into the kombu and dried squid water we prepared the night before, pour in the dried shiitake water. Use a mesh strainer like this to filter out any impurity in the water. Then heat over medium-low heat and remove the scum. Now, very important rule to keep in mind, never boil the dashi. If that happens, the delicate flavor of kombu and squid will be gone. At this point, add the carrot and gently simmer for 2 minutes. Also make sure to remove the scum that floats on top. Next, we're gonna add in daikon radish and gently simmer for another 2 minutes. Finally, add in burdock root, shiitake mushrooms, and konnyaku. Gently simmer until all the root veggies get tender. It's not seasoned yet, but I'd like to check how the dashi turned out. This, my friends, is a really good dashi. I can tell umami synergy is working. It's so deep and amazingly flavorful. Let's season the soup. Add in 4 tablespoons of soy sauce and 3 tablespoons of mirin. Gently simmer for a minute or so and do a taste test. I think it needs a bit more saltiness, so let's add a little bit of salt. I'm no longer adding soy sauce here because it's got enough soy sauce flavor. And I don't want the broth to look any darker. The key here is to not perfectly season the broth. It should taste a bit weaker than you want it to be. The reason being we're gonna use a salty garnish. Now the most fun part, toasting mochi. What I'm using is kirimochi, they're ready-made mochi blocks. Since mochi making requires a lot of effort and heavy wooden tools that not many households own, the vast majority of Japanese families buy these at stores. Now how to toast kirimochi is quite simple. Just cook both sides for a few minutes on the grill or in a non-stick pan over medium heat. As they cook, they expand and inflate, and when that happens, the mochi is ready. Having a bit of color on the surface is highly recommended. I also have to warn you guys, please do be careful when you eat mochi. Every New Year's holiday there are people who choke on mochi and get sent to hospitals. And you can easily imagine the worst case, right? So please promise me to follow the advice on the screen. Now let's prepare the garnishes and assemble the ozoni. Here I have Japanese herb called Mitsuba. These leaves have a uniquely refreshing green note and help enhance the flavors of dashi stocks. Because of that, it's used very often as a garnish for Japanese soups. But Mitsuba might be hard to find outside Japan, so it's totally fine to replace it with chopped green onions. Next, we're gonna cut out Yuzu zest. Just carefully slide a knife and slice off the yellow part. If you're not confident, you can use a peeler. If you don't have access to yuzu, you can leave it out. People sometimes ask me if it's okay to eat yuzu just like oranges, but since the fruit itself is quite sour and bitter, it's not a fruit you enjoy eating. You can use the juice to make a ponzu sauce though. Next, I'm gonna slice a clove of garlic and soak it in olive oil, a bit of chili flakes. Just kidding. This goes straight into my spaghetti dinner tonight. Let's assemble the dish now. This is a beautiful handcrafted lacquerware from Kyoto. I'd like to use this special soup bowl to present my food today. Now place a mochi, then pour over the soup, and place another mochi, a slice of Naruto, a bit of chopped Mitsuba, salty salmon roe, the very Hokkaido part of this ozoni, and finally some Yuzu zest. Now this is my family's Hokkaido-style Ozoni. Right, that's it guys for today. Thanks a lot for watching. If you liked the video, please give me a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel. I wish you all a happy new year. See you next time. Shiitake ne.